Good afternoon. This is the In My Opinion show, seen on YouTube and RBR IMO, with Ron Barry Robinson and Florence. I am your host, Henry Hatter. This is part 2 of a 2-part series known as Politics in Michigan. This afternoon we will be discussing proposals, the ballot proposals before the citizens in Michigan. And today, joining us at the round table is Denise Allen, a well-known activist in the community and professional businesswoman. Join us.
How are you today, Henry?
Thank you. And we have producer-director Ronald Barry Robinson. Welcome, Ron.
Thank you, Mr. Hatter.
Today we will be discussing 3 of the 6 proposals. We will begin by a continuation of Proposal 4. This is a proposal to amend the state constitution to establish the Michigan Quality Home Care Council and provide collective bargaining for in-home care workers. The proposal would allow in-home care workers to bargain collectively with the Michigan Quality Home Care Council, known as MQHCC. Continue the current exclusive representative of in-home care workers until modified in accordance with new labor laws. Require MQHCC to provide training for in-home care workers, create a registry of workers who pass background checks, and provide financial services to patients to manage the cost of in-home care. Preserve patient rights to hire in-home care workers who are not referred from MQHCC registry, who are not in the bargaining unit. Authorize the MQHCC to set minimum compensation standards and terms and conditions of employment. Should this proposal be adopted, Denise?
Absolutely. When you're talking about in-home care, you're thinking about 2 populations. The first would be your elderly population, and then with those that may be infirmed because of accidents or some kind of unfortunate situation. To have a person that's qualified to work in your home, I think is a good thing to help with a person so that they do not have to be moved to a residential facility, which is much more costly. I think that this proposal is a good proposal because it will protect the people who would receive the services as well as the workers who would be involved. So that's my position.
Ron, what do you think?
Well, I agree with Denise because I will vote yes on this. In-home care workers, they are hard-working individuals, and with low pay. And I believe they need to find parity, and the only way they're going to be able to do that is, through the collective bargaining process. Providing, they pass, you have to pass the state exams, all right? And also you have to get your background checks and things of that nature, because too often we've seen evidence, or we've heard of evidence, or read of evidence where some of these employees were not certified. They just more or less hired off the street, and they abuse. And there's been a lot of abuse to the elderly, and that's not acceptable. This abuse is not acceptable, whether you're young or old, because these people, regardless of their handicaps or their disabilities, they are human beings, and they should be treated, in a humane manner. That's my position.
Well, Denise and Ron, I like the proposal, all right, but there are some nuances that I don't like about it. I don't like the idea of having to provide them bargaining rights. There's got to be some place where you begin as you go into a pool of employment, where you begin at the bottom level. And this says nothing about the skills and skills that a person meeting this criteria would have to have in order to comply with these key elements required under the law. So these people, it does not say that they're professional.
Well, I mentioned qualified in my
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So where do you start? You don't just start everybody at the top. Some people have to work
Well,
up.
I think that the language in the proposal speaks to that. It says here requires MQHCC, which is the Michigan Quality Home Care Council. They are to provide training for in-home care workers. So they have to meet certain standards, and then those persons would become certified under this organization so that they can become a part of a registry.
And that certification is state, through the state, whether it's state of Michigan or other states.
Now this sounds like a hey you kind of thing here, where you say, hey you over here, you over there, having no skills, come over here, we will train you, we will qualify you, and we will give you a certificate. We will validate your kind of experiences you need to become qualified under this proposal. Is that a good idea?
I think it is. It would be the same thing as if you said, hey, you come to this particular college and get 2
This
years
doesn't
of
say
training.
anything about the college.
But I'm using that as the same example that you're using because you have to start somewhere. Okay? Now, if you have a registry that says that so many individuals have passed this certification and they're available to work in the person's home, that would give them, the person who is receiving the services, a lot better feeling than to say that XYZ organization over here, because they have a group of people and they are employing them, but they have not gone through the rigors of training or whatever, but because this group say, well, they're okay. They don't have any safeguards. This organization provides the safeguard because they're going to do the background check, and they're also going to make sure that there are provisions available to the person who is actually getting the services for financial arrangements to be made. Because a lot of the people, quite frankly, may be indigent or not financially able to sustain long-term care. And the other option for them, of course, would be to go into some kind of residential facility, which would either bankrupt them or put them in, very dire straits. So I think that this is a great proposal from the standpoint of both the receivers and the givers of the services. And might I just add, supporters of this proposal are the campaign treasurer, Don Hoyle, listed Service Employees International Union, and also the Michigan Disabilities Rights Coalition. So again, you have strong backing for this proposal. And then those who are in opposition, interestingly enough, would be your Michigan Chamber of Commerce, okay, Citizens Protection Michigan Constitution, and Governor Rick Snyder.
Mm-hmm. Now, what do you say to that? Do you have another comment about that? Because I certainly do.
In-home care, okay, in my opinion. All right, in many instances, it is more beneficial to recovery, all right, because you're in your own home, you're in your own surroundings, all right. You have visitations, hopefully from friends and family members. Not that you couldn't get them, in an institution of some kind, but I've seen it work, okay, where your recovery is much faster. Depending on your circumstance, okay?
Well, to me, this is like the supporters of this proposal are going out and growing staff and creating an industry that should evolve on its own, like all other industries have evolved. You hired people who fit a certain criteria that you had for your industry, and they acquired most of the skills. And besides, to give them the right to bargain just seems to me so unproductive and divisive.
Well, in a lot of cases, okay, not too far from where I live, all right, there's several group homes, all right, and I've heard rumors that that the proprietors of these in-home homes they take all the patient's money, all right, and give the workers hardly just barely minimum wage. Okay, and I think that's wrong, and I think collective bargaining should be a part. It shouldn't be any different than proposal 2 in a sense. All right, of this Michigan a proposal to amend the state constitution regarding collective bargaining.
Denise, I don't have any problem with the premise. I think it's a great idea, but it's that collective bargaining part that they can't get past. But the folks who do the work of home care should grow their own system and petition for them to become a bargaining group, the way most groups do.
Well, I think what you're saying is really what is being proposed, the way I'm understanding it. Okay, because what they're saying, yes, there is a pool of people already out there that are workers. There are already people who are working, as Ronnie mentioned, in group homes, as well as people who are working in people's homes, okay? But what they're trying to do is raise the level of professionalism within this organization of hard-working people who go in and work 8-hour shifts, maybe sometimes more, okay? Providing quality intensive care for people in their home environment.
Do you think the quest for bargaining rights will kill the industry? If you have to pay a certain amount of wages and provide for health care and provide for other incentives to keep your employee, won't you kill the industry?
I don't think so. I think if anything, you will grow the industry, because what you're looking for, and most people in this day and time are looking not only for a fair wage, they're also looking for some type of incentive in terms of health care and those other kinds of benefits.
Wages are going down in the world today, in the country today. And in the state, they're going down, and they always say, we're trying to raise wages. Well, it's an oxymoron.
But see, you got to take
we don't
into
have the
consideration.
money anymore to provide for this kind of opportunities for everybody who want them.
But I think you need to take into consideration the baby boomers are retiring. They're getting older. All right. When you get old, you have ailments.
Yeah.
All right. These in-home workers not only just bathe people, but they clean your house. All right. They do errands. All kinds of different chores. Okay.
But I would not like to see this put in the Constitution. There's another way to do it. I would support it, say, for that.
I don't see why you wouldn't want to see it in the Constitution, because, but for the grace right now, you may need one of these people.
Yes.
And you would not want somebody in your house,
No.
number one, that you could not trust. Okay, because they may have to not only clean your house and take care of you, but they may have access to your financial records and things
Did
of
you
that
hear
nature.
about the young child, the kids that were killed yesterday by an in-home worker?
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm sorry, I missed that one.
Was that nanny?
Yeah.
Okay.
Chopped them up in a bathtub.
Oh my.
2 kids, wasn't
I believe it was in New York.
it? Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
and so
It's horrible.
these things are not as profound as you think they are. There are still problems within that, and we're going to put their rights in the Constitution so that their rights will be greater than everybody else's rights.
No, their rights will be protected, but not greater than everybody else's. And
But
you
if
mentioned
you don't
this
come out of the union.
You mentioned an isolated incident that kind of threw me off my square here for a moment. But I'm saying in any industry, you're going to have some people who don't do well in their positions, lose their minds, and create heinous acts. But by and large, you have good workers out there who are working in people's homes. And again, in order to protect the workers as well as those receiving the care, you should have a registry, you should have certain things in place, and you certainly should have a consistent mechanism in place for training. Okay? If engineers, for
Paid
example,
by whom?
if engineers, for example, were trained by AC over here, and then Joe around the corner, that wouldn't work. Okay, there's a standard that all of them must go through, and they must be certified and qualified and receive exams and what have you to put them at a certain level. And it's the same thing in my mind.
Okay. Well, you think about that. Think about who's going to pay for all this. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. We'll come back to that.
Governor Snyder probably pays for it, keeps taxing everybody
Next
that's retiring.
proposal. You got the last word on that one, Denise.
Okay.
1205. A proposal to amend the state constitution to limit the enactment of new taxes by state government. The proposal would, 1. Require a 2/3 majority vote of the state house and the state senate, or a statewide vote of the people at a November election, in order for the state of Michigan to impose new or additional taxes or expand the base of taxation or increasing the rate of taxation. This section shall in no way be construed to limit or modify tax limitations otherwise created in the Constitution. Now, the question is, Ron, should this proposition be approved?
No. Because that would open the door every time the state needed something, all right? Okay, then here comes a new tax proposal. And right now I think we're taxed up the hilt, okay, here in the state of Michigan. As I mentioned earlier, people can't buy food. They can't pay their mortgages, all right? When you pass by these big car lots, they're all repossessed cars and trucks and vans and boats and motorcycles. All right, people can't afford any more taxes. Okay? And
But that's what the proposal is about. Remember, it says a proposal to amend the state constitution to limit the enactment of new taxes.
well, yeah, I mean,
Should the state pass such a, so that the state's hands are tied like that?
well, exactly. They should be tied.
They should?
Mm-hmm. So they can't, and they.
That's
act
what I
no
thought you were
taxes.
saying, but yeah, because of the way it's written.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
confusing proposal. And
I did say yes, didn't I?
You said no.
You said no.
Oh, I apologize to our
Denise,
millions of viewers.
enlighten us.
Okay.
Okay. Well, again, it is very confusing. My position at this point is that we should say no. The primary support and sponsors for the measures come from the Michigan Alliance for Prosperity. Okay, so these are supporters. Opponents of the proposal are the Michigan Chamber of Commerce and Governor Snyder. Now, his argument, according to a released statement September 2012, I should say, says, what does this proposal mean for you and me? It means that special interest groups and even a small group of lawmakers could stop our ability to make the necessary policy changes we need in Michigan. It means that it would be more difficult for us to pay for our schools, fix our roads, or make sure that our law enforcement officials have the tools they need to protect us. Also, it will be viewed as negatively by bond rating agencies, which could raise our interest costs and make us look less attractive to job creators. Okay. Limit the enactment of new taxes by state government. I am, as Ron has said, one who is sick of taxes. I really am. I think that we in Michigan have been overburdened with taxes. Even though what this article has mentioned about Snyder says about
Then
special
you want to
interests.
vote yes on this,
No.
if you want to amend it, to limit.
I want to limit it.
Okay, you want to, that's a yes. Ron, you see it?
Limit. It's got to be limited.
Okay.
by a vote of the people.
Okay, now this is what we want our audience to understand about this proposal. It is tricky even for trained eyes to see
Yes.
and to understand with great minds. So if you are not familiar with proposals, please read as much as you can and listen to our panel here.
Yes, because your panel is confused also.
Well, no, you have it right. Now, I, for example, will vote no. I don't want to see government have its hands tied like that, so it cannot provide for the most vulnerable of us, and those are the poor people.
Well, see, Henry,
And
you got a
see-
lot of money. See, the rest of us don't.
Oh, Ron, don't
Okay.
try it. No, but here, it's really true. Guess what happens when the state runs out of money? What did they cut first? They cut welfare, they cut child care, they cut schools, they cut all the things that the bulk of the population needs.
Well, maybe
And
they
once
need a
that-
financial
once the
manager
hands-
up there in Lansing.
Once the hands are tied, you will suffer first. Believe it, you will suffer first. Now, most of us here on the panel, if these things don't work out the way that we think they'll go, we have already provided for options. If this doesn't pass, we move this way. We create other kind of things to do. But the bulk of the population will never provide for this kind of thinking. And they will be trapped. But please do not let yourself be trapped by this. Concluding remark.
Concluding remarks is that once a person reads over the proposal, they have to vote their conscience, they have to vote what they believe will be in their best interest. But I think you alluded to it earlier, what may be in one's best interest may not be sound public policy. So we have to be aware of the big picture and who it will affect.
And
not
what are
only
you saying now?
themselves.
Here's a great sense of what we were talking about and why this is so important to our audience. Speak to the idea of good public policy. Now, what makes this good public policy
Because again,
that
you know,
people ought to be aware of and why they ought to think about it?
well, I think the bottom line is we know that right now we have a current administration that is not necessarily supportive of a lot of the things that would be of benefit to the people, but they may not always be in there. They may not always be in place. So we have to look at, in terms of future, what will be the outcome for those persons.
Folks, you heard that here first.
No new taxes, period. That's the bottom line, all right? No damn new taxes.
Well, how are we going to support for the indigenous and the people who don't have much? Once government, the cost of government rises like the cost of your household.
But
every
okay,
day.
let's look at Michigan, for instance, all right? Now, all the tax dollars that I paid out over the years when I was working, okay? What's changed? What did Lansing do with our tax dollars? Okay? In my opinion, they squandered. Look at the city of Flint. What did they do with all those tax dollars? Millions. In my opinion, squandered. Okay? Look at the city. Look around you. Okay? Look at the poor. 1 out of 6 kids, go to bed hungry every night. All right? The safety net. What happened to the safety net? The state is supposed to take care of us, or take care of the people, right? But they don't.
But Ron, some of that stuff was due to the change in environmental conditions around us. The loss of General Motors, which we've discussed often now. The loss of other support industries that employed hundreds and thousands of people so that we may all in this community have a job. But those now are gone. And so that's likely to impact what happened to those tax dollars. Mm-hmm. They're no longer there. And we need to be cognizant of that. We need to move on.
Yeah, real quickly.
Okay. Now I hope our audience got a.
Of course, no. We've discussed the bridge issue, I think, before. But
yes,
real
but
quickly,
we need to
within
go back.
the minute we got, you go ahead.
Okay, Denise, Tell us about the bridge.
Well, the bridge basically is requiring the approval of a majority of voters a statewide election in each municipality. New international bridges or tunnels for motor vehicles are to be located before the state of Michigan may expend state funds or resources for acquiring land, design, soliciting bids for construction, financing, or promoting. And I think basically what we all know is that this is something that is, in my opinion, a vote that we should vote no on. It should be a no vote.
No vote.
Yes.
Okay. Ron, what's your position?
No new bridge. Period.
But Ron, the proposal is to amend the state constitution regarding the construction of the international bridge and tunnels. The proposal would require the approval of a majority of the voters at a statewide election, and each municipality where the new international bridge and tunnel for motor vehicles are to be located before the state of Michigan may extend funds or resources for acquiring new lands, designing, soliciting bids for construction, etc.
Well, of course, there should be a statewide vote, but bottom line is, there's no new bridges.
No new bridges.
No new bridges.
Okay. We're ready to wrap this up.
Okay, folks, you've heard this discussion. There's been a lot of discussion on these proposals, and I hope you've grasped the substance of the discussion, so that you may be better able to go out and vote your conscience. It's time now to bring the show to a conclusion. Time went by fast, and again, I want to congratulate all of you for doing a good job on the proposal. So, with that, stay focused.